Luna is a woman from Denmark who was born and raised in a family that had no knowledge of Islam at all. In her neighborhood, Islam was often seen as a foreign religion and even full of negative stereotypes. Like most people in the West, she grew up with the understanding that Islam is a strict religion with many rules. However, life often brings unexpected surprises. Luna's journey to discovering Islam did not begin with books or religious lectures, but with something simpler: observing the Muslims around her. Luna first began to notice the differences in the way her Muslim friends lived. She observed how they carried themselves with calmness and patience. What surprised her the most was that they never spoke ill of other religions, even when people around them often criticized or belittled other beliefs. One day, Luna asked one of her friends, "Why do you never speak badly about other religions? Don't you also believe that your religion is the most true?" Her friend smiled and replied, "Islam teaches us to respect all beliefs. We believe that everyone has their own path in seeking God, and it is not our place to belittle them." That answer left a deep impression on Luna. She had never heard anyone talk about religion in that way. Usually, religious debates in the West were filled with criticism and conflict. But here, she found something different, something that felt more peaceful and full of respect. Luna's interest in Islam grew even more. She began asking her friends more questions about their religion. One day, she accidentally saw one of her friends praying. She was mesmerized by how deeply focused and calm her friend seemed, as if she were speaking directly to God. Curious, Luna asked, "What do you feel when you pray?" Her friend gently replied, "I feel at peace. I feel close to God, as if all my worries and problems disappear for a moment." Luna fell silent. She tried to imagine what it would be like to have that kind of relationship with God, a relationship filled with tranquility, not fear or obligation. From there, she began reading more about Islam. She learned about prayer, fasting, and other Islamic teachings. She also came across inspiring stories of people who had found peace in Islam. However, the more she learned, the more she faced a big question. Do I really want to become a Muslim? Although her heart was beginning to be drawn to Islam, Luna couldn't simply ignore the fear inside her. How would her family react? What about her non-Muslim friends? Was she ready to live a life with an identity different from most of the people around her? She struggled with these questions for months. She tried to find reasons not to move forward, but the more she tried to avoid it, the more she felt that her heart had already found its answer. One night, she sat alone in her room reflecting. She realized that all this time, she had been searching for something that could bring peace and meaning to her life. And now, after discovering Islam, she felt as though she had found what she had been searching for all along. With a racing heart, she finally decided, "I want to become a Muslim." When the day came, Luna felt a mix of nervousness and happiness. She went to a mosque, accompanied by some of her Muslim friends. With a slightly trembling voice, she recited the Shahada. "I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah." As those words left her mouth, she felt something extraordinary, a peace she had never felt before. Her tears fell, not out of sadness, but because of the deep happiness within her. She knew that her life would change after this. She would face challenges, possibly lose some friends, and maybe even face rejection from her family. But she also knew one thing. She had found the truth she had been searching for all along. As she had expected, Luna's decision to become Muslim was not easily accepted by everyone around her. Some of her friends and family were shocked, and some even tried to persuade her to change her mind. "Why did you choose Islam? Isn't it a religion full of rules?" Luna smiled and replied, "It is precisely because of the rules that I feel more at peace. Islam teaches me to live better, to be more disciplined, and to value time more." Although not everyone could accept her decision, Luna never regretted it. She continued to learn, to delve deeper into Islam, and she fell more in love with the religion that had now become a part of her life. Now, Luna often shares her story with others. She wants to show that Islam is not a religion that restricts, but a religion full of love, peace, and meaning. She wants to prove that anyone can find Islam, even in the most unexpected places. For her, the journey to Islam is not the end, but the beginning of a deeper spiritual adventure. Luna's story is proof that guidance can come from anywhere, even from small things like seeing someone pray or hearing calming words. She didn't search for Islam, but Islam found her. And when her heart opened to accept the truth, she knew that she had found her true spiritual home. Her journey was filled with challenges, but also with happiness. And most importantly, she had found the peace she had been searching for all along. In 2009, Richard McKinney, a former United States Marine Corps USMC member, came to the Islamic Center of Muncie in Muncie, Indiana, with intentions far from good. His decision to attack the mosque was not a sudden one, but the result of years of deep-seated hatred toward Islam. This hatred was born from the bitter experiences he endured while serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, two war zones that led him to see the world in black and white, where the enemy was deemed unworthy of life. When McKinney returned to his hometown, his anger grew, fueled by the presence of an increasingly vibrant Muslim community in the small town. McKinney felt that the presence of Muslims in Muncie was an insult to the sacrifices he had made on the battlefield. To him, they symbolized everything he despised, and in his rage-filled mind, they were a threat that needed to be destroyed. He viewed their presence as a mockery of his struggles, a direct confrontation with the pain he endured after fighting in the war. The more he saw Muslim children attending school with his daughter, the deeper his hatred grew. "I told people that Islam was a cancer, and I was the surgeon to cure it," McKinney admitted. One fateful day, McKinney went to the Islamic Center of Muncie, carrying a bomb he intended to use to kill as many people as possible inside. The USMC tattoos on his body, particularly a skull tattoo on his arm, made it clear he was not there with good intentions. With his head down and his face flushed red with anger, he walked into the mosque, which was crowded with worshipers attending Friday prayers. For McKinney, this was a moment of reckoning, a mission he had long planned. However, what he encountered there was entirely unexpected. Instead of the fear and darkness he had anticipated, McKinney was met with an entirely different response. The people he intended to annihilate ended up saving his life. As he approached the mosque, one of the Muslim community members, Jomo Williams, who was present at the time, sensed something was off. He was walking a bit fast, his head slightly down, and his face was a bit red, Williams recalled. A sense of unease immediately set in. McKinney, approaching the mosque with burning hatred, was unaware that the people inside did not see him as a threat, but as a human being who could be saved. When he finally reached the group, several individuals displayed extraordinary courage by approaching him. They did not back away or flee. Instead, they confronted him in a completely unexpected way, with kindness and bravery. They saw that behind his hatred was a wounded man who needed healing, not destruction. Even more surprising was the action of Mohammed Barami, one of the founders of the Islamic Center of Muncie, who unhesitatingly approached McKinney and embraced him tightly. Barami, an Afghan native, wept as he hugged McKinney, whose confusion was evident. "To this day, it still doesn't make sense to me," McKinney later admitted, reflecting on the moment. He couldn't comprehend how someone who was supposed to be his enemy could be so full of love and forgiveness. To him, Bahrami was an unexpected brother who gave him a new lease on life. Following the incident, McKinney felt torn and bewildered. For years, he had been consumed by hatred toward Muslims. But on that most unexpected day, he discovered something far stronger than his hatred: forgiveness. The decision to return to the mosque and try to understand the religion he had long considered his enemy was not an easy one. Yet slowly but surely, he began to feel something he had never experienced before, a sense of peace and calm that defied words. He returned to the Islamic Center of Muncie, This time with a slightly more open heart, he began reading the Quran, and although he initially felt alienated by its teachings, the deeper he delved, the more he experienced a peace he had never known in his life. Months passed, and McKinney began to change. The fiery hatred that once consumed him gradually faded, replaced by genuine understanding and compassion. Finally, 8 months after his dramatic encounter with the Muslim community in Muncie, McKinney decided to take a significant step. He recited the Shahada, declaring himself a Muslim. The moment was deeply emotional, and as he joined the community he once sought to destroy, he was welcomed with open arms and prayers. They did not see McKinney as an enemy, but as a brother who had found his way home, back to the path of truth. McKinney's journey did not end there. Over the next 2 years, he was even elected president of the Islamic Center of Muncie. From someone who once carried a bomb to destroy, he now stood as a leader inspiring others to love and understand one another. He turned his hatred into a force for peace, and he continues to share his life story with the world, showing that no hatred is too great to be transformed by love. McKinney is no longer a stranger at the gates. He has found a community that healed his wounds and gave new meaning to his life. He found brothers and sisters not on the battlefield, but through sincere faith. This dramatic story demonstrates to the world that even in the darkest moments, there is always a light ready to guide someone toward extraordinary change. Guidance to Islam can come to anyone, at any time, and in any place. One such example is party queen Nicole Queen, who was once deeply involved in the glamour of nightlife. Now, with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she has embraced Islam by reciting the Shahada and becoming a Muslim. Nicole Queen, an American woman known as the Party Queen, once lived a life of luxury in the dazzling nightlife. As a celebrity photographer, she was accustomed to being in elite social circles, partying in exclusive clubs, and mingling with celebrities and famous personalities. Alcohol, music, and a glamorous lifestyle were part of her daily routine. However, who would have thought that behind all the luxury, her heart felt an inexplicable emptiness? Nicole wasn't just enjoying the nightlife, she was completely immersed in it. As a photographer working in prestigious nightclubs, she witnessed endless partying, hedonism, and a carefree lifestyle. Money was never an issue for her. She had everything: luxurious clothes, access to exclusive places, and a vast social network. However, the deeper she delved into that world, the stronger the emptiness gnawed at her heart. She began to question, is this the purpose of life? Can true happiness really be found in these parties? On one hand, she tried to mask her emptiness with a social life full of temporary pleasures. But on the other hand, she felt that something was missing. She longed to find something more meaningful, something that could fill the void in her soul. One day, fate led her to meet a group of Muslims. At first, she was skeptical of them, given how negatively Islam was portrayed in Western media. However, there was something different about them: their calmness, peace, and the way they treated others with deep respect. As she spoke with them, her curiosity grew, and she began asking questions about Islam. She learned about the concept of submission to one God, the importance of living a meaningful life, and the beauty of Islamic teachings that emphasize compassion and peace. The turning point came when she heard the recitation of the Quran for the first time. Its sound touched her heart so deeply, as if there was an unseen force drawing her in. She felt as though God was speaking directly to her. After returning from that meeting, Nicole couldn't stop thinking about what she had experienced. She began to explore Islam more deeply, reading Islamic books, watching videos about other converts, and even secretly visiting a mosque to observe how Muslims worship. However, this journey was not easy. Fear crept in. What if her friends found out? What if her family rejected her? What if she lost everything she had built? But the more she learned, the more she realized that she had been searching for something that Islam had already provided. She couldn't ignore the call any longer. Finally, with a trembling heart, Nicole Queen recited the two Shahada statements. Tears streamed down her face. She felt a peace she had never experienced in her entire life. The emptiness that once tormented her heart was now replaced by the light of faith. Nicole's decision to embrace Islam was not the end of her journey, but the beginning of great trials. She lost many friends, and even her family initially opposed her decision. The nightlife that once played a major role in her life had to be left behind. She began dressing more modestly, stopped drinking alcohol, and distanced herself from a lifestyle that contradicted Islamic teachings. However, the hardest test was facing a world that viewed her with suspicion simply because she chose Islam. She often received strange looks on the street, was questioned about why she wore the hijab, and even faced negative comments from people who were once close to her. But she remained steadfast. To her, Islam was the greatest gift in her life, and she would never trade it for anything. Over time, Nicole Queen not only adapted to her new life as a Muslim, but also began sharing her story with the world. She wanted to show that Islam was not a restrictive religion, but one that brought true peace and happiness. She became actively involved in various platforms, sharing her experiences as a convert and helping others who were struggling with the same inner conflicts she once faced. Today, Nicole Queen is no longer the party queen, but a proud Muslim woman who embraces her faith wholeheartedly. Her spiritual journey is proof that guidance can come to anyone, at any time, and in any place, even in the midst of the dazzling yet dark world of nightlife. May her story inspire many who are still searching for the light in their lives. Farah Solano was born and raised in San Jose, the capital of Costa Rica. She came from a devout Catholic family. Since childhood, she was taught to worship diligently, attend Mass every Sunday, and follow the teachings of the church without doubt. Her parents, especially her mother, always emphasized that the Catholic faith was the only path to salvation. In her home, a crucifix hung on the wall, a statue of the Virgin Mary stood in the corner of the room, and prayers were always said before meals and bedtime. However, deep in her heart, Farah always felt that something was missing. What is the true meaning of life? That question often crossed her mind. Even though she faithfully carried out religious rituals, she often felt empty. When praying, she felt as if she was merely speaking without truly sensing God's presence. She sought answers, but every time she asked, she only received advice to deepen her understanding of church teachings. However, her search continued, unaware that destiny would lead her on a journey that would change her life. At the age of 18, Farah was accepted into a prestigious university in Costa Rica to study law. She dreamed of becoming a lawyer who would fight for justice and defend the oppressed. On campus, she met many students from diverse backgrounds, including Amina, a Muslim student from Morocco. At first, Farah didn't pay much attention to Amina, but one thing caught her interest: the serenity that always radiated from her new friend. One day, while they were discussing law and morality, Amina said, "In Islam, justice is highly upheld. Allah loves those who act justly." Farah was surprised. "Justice in Islam," she murmured to herself. Intrigued, she began to wonder about Islam. Amina patiently answered all her questions, never once trying to force her to believe. However, there was one moment that truly shook Farah's heart. One afternoon, while they were studying together in the library, Amina asked for permission to leave for a moment. "I'm going to pray first," Amina said calmly. Farah nodded, but curiosity got the best of her. She quietly followed from a distance and watched as Amina spread out her prayer mat, stood, bowed, prostrated, and prayed with deep concentration. At that moment, Farah felt something strange in her heart, a serenity she had never experienced before. After that incident, Farah began to learn more about Islam. In secret, she read articles, watched videos, and even started reading translations of the Quran online. Her nights were spent reading and reflecting. Every verse she read seemed to answer the restlessness she had always felt. However, there was one verse that completely changed her perspective. Whoever Allah wills to guide, He opens their heart to Islam. Quran, Surah Al-An'am 125. Tears streamed down her face. She realized that all this time, she had been searching for something that Allah had already prepared for her. From that moment on, her heart grew more certain. She began learning how to worship in Islam, understanding the meaning of prayer, and even trying to pray in the way Islam teaches. However, one big question troubled her. How would her family react if she truly decided to embrace Islam? After months of reflection and learning, Farah finally made the biggest decision of her life. She wanted to become a Muslim. She met Amina and told her about her decision. Amina smiled, filled with emotion, and then took her to a small mosque in their city. There, in front of the imam and a few witnesses, Farah recited the Shahada. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. As soon as the words left her lips, she felt an overwhelming peace unlike anything she had ever experienced before, but that happiness did not last long. When she returned home and told her parents, it felt as if her world had collapsed. Their reaction was far worse than she had ever imagined. Her mother broke down in hysterical tears, while her father stared at her with furious eyes. Have you lost your mind, Farah? Her mother screamed. Do you even realize what you've done? Her father's voice trembled with anger. Farah tried to explain, but no one wanted to listen. No matter how hard she tried, her parents saw her as nothing more than a traitor. From that day on, their relationship changed drastically. No one greeted her or spoke to her anymore. It was as if she no longer existed in her own home. But the most painful moment came when her mother said, if you remain in that religion, you are no longer our daughter. That night, Farah cried her heart out. She had lost her family, but deep down, she knew she had found the truth. After leaving home, Farah stayed in a student dormitory. Her days were filled with trials, loneliness, the pain of being shunned by her family, and the challenges of being a convert in an environment that knew little about Islam. But every time she felt sadness creeping in, she remembered the verse that had strengthened her from the beginning. Indeed, with hardship comes ease. Quran, Surah Al-Inshirah 6. And it was true, Allah did not leave her alone. She found a new family among her Muslim brothers and sisters. She began to deepen her understanding of Islam, discovering the true meaning of life and growing closer to Allah. Now at 19 years old, Farah still faces rejection from her family. However, she continues to pray that one day they will accept her again. She firmly believes that Allah never abandons those who seek the truth. Even though the world may turn away from her, she knows that Allah always welcomes her with boundless love, and that is enough for her. Farah Solano's journey was never an easy one. From a devout Catholic girl, she went through doubt, a long search, and finally found Islam as the guiding light in her life. Her decision came with heavy consequences, losing her family, being shunned by those closest to her, and facing deep loneliness. Yet amid all of that, Farah discovered something far more valuable: true peace and unwavering faith. Every tear she shed, every trial she faced, each one only strengthened her faith. Now she lives her days with hope, holding firmly to the belief that Allah never abandons those who seek the truth. Farah believes that one day her parents will understand and accept her decision, but until that day comes, she will keep moving forward with faith and prayer, because she knows that with every hardship there is ease, and in every journey toward truth there is a light that never fades.